Hey guys, welcome back to Hunk and Junk. I've got a good one for you today on Tuesday. A buddy of mine sent me this little topper. It's a reproduction Tonka Sportsman topper and asked me to cut some windows in it for him. So today I'm going to show you how I do that. So stick around. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for me, guys. If you got any questions and stuff, make sure you ask them. But hang around for a minute. I'll be right back with you. Alright guys, so I figured I'd start off this time by showing you what tools I'm going to be using to cut the holes. So first things first, these are my Jilson shears, J-I-L-S-O-N, Jilson shears. If you do get you some, make sure it's got that black dowel on the end of it so that it'll cut off your work at the end. I'll be using my drill. This is a 1/4 inch bit. This is what's called a step down bit. Good for sheet metal. Whenever you use a big drill bit in sheet metal, it just kind of marls it up whenever you go to drilling. So this does not do that. It makes a really nice, pretty hole. And they come in a variety of different sizes. This, of course, is just a little under. You can get them that run off of air. This is not a requirement. You can use files and sandpaper in the place of this. I'll be using my files some today, but I'll be using that more than these. A good T-square and a good scribe. Alright, so I think what I want to do here is I want to do a circle in the front and a long rectangle window towards the back on both sides. So probably what I should do is find my center mark between here and there, mark it up here, mark it back here, and then start working off of that center mark. As you can see, it's got a little bit of a lip right here, and a little bit of a lip right there. So I'm going to take my handy dandy square here and kind of measure that. You see it's pretty close to 1 3/4. I can kind of center it up with a 1 3/4 mark. So while it's centered up right there, I'm going to mark it at 7/8. Then I'm going to go down here, mark it again. Now you can draw your line. Now, I got my center mark here. I'm just going to lay my square up here, butted up against this. I know it's pretty straight. So I'm going to come over, let's say 1 inch. Now, that's where I'm going to drill my hole for my round window. Let's mark him out. Something like that. Now, what did I do? I come over 1 inch. So one thing about it is to remember, whenever you're doing something like this and you're going to cut this stuff out, you can always cut more. But once you've made that cut over here and you realize that you've gotten too far over, you can't put it back. So it's always best, if you're thinking, well, I'm about 3/4, you know, somewhere around in there, pull it back a little bit. At least till I get this hole drilled. Then I can see how far from the edge of my hole is. And then I can use this measurement to get a direct reading over here. So I'm going to take my ring finger or my pinky, one or the other, whichever one you choose. And I'm going to lay it on the bottom here. And if you watch them guys who do the pinstripe and stuff, they use their other fingers, their free fingers, as a guide. So I kind of picked that up watching them guys. I'm going to put my finger here on the bottom of this. And I'm going to come right up here to my mark. Run that straight down. It's not always perfect, but it does do a pretty good job. Better than freehand. Kind of got a rough idea of what we're going to do here. But I want to get this hole drilled so that I see how much of a gap I've got right here. So then I can make it the same over here. So what you're going to want to do is get your little scribe or a little punch or something. Now this looks like pretty thin metal, maybe 22, possibly 24, but it feels like 22 gauge. So get you a little scribe or a punch and a small hammer. You don't want to use a big hammer, you'll dent it. So looking at my marks over here, obviously that hillbilly stuff's going on. So I'm going to put my center in between my two boogered up marks. Hold him there. I got me a little dent. Now, got me a 1/4 inch drill bit. Finger off the trigger, fellas. Rest your bit on your thumb. Get it right there in that spot. I can guide it with my thumb, but you keep your finger off there because she'll mangle you up. So get it right there in your spot where you just hit your hammer, where you just done your thing. There. Now I was pushing pretty hard, so I left some damage here on the inside. And you can take you a round file. That down on something, fellas. Take your little hammer. Ooh. There we go. Nice and pretty. Still a bit of a burr. I'll get that off when I'm done. I'll go back around and clean it all up. So, now I need to take some rubbing alcohol and I'm going to wipe all this off, get that cleaned up, so I can give me a good accurate measurement from the edge of this hole to the edge of this seam. Alright, so let's take our drill. And what I've learned here, fellas, whenever you're doing, it's not an easy task cutting a square hole out of sheet metal. And if some of you have seen my campers on Facebook or what have you, or seen them in the background of my videos, and you see the square holes that I've been cutting, well, here's my secret. This is how she's done, boys. Just pay good attention. Finger off your trigger. Okay. Now, take your step down bit. Right on. Take your handy dandy Jilson shears, fellas. Now, got me a gap cut. That end cut right there is why I tell you to get the one with this die. They make them without that die, and you can't cut your work off at the end. Now guys, my Jilson shears, I've had them for a couple of years, and boys, no, I've cut out a bunch of windows. Look at that. That's some pretty good straight lines. I need to take my file, clean a bunch of it up. course, there we have it. We got her all done finally and sewed up and ready to go back out to my buddy Ryan. Got us a nice round port window here and a good square window here in the back. I think that was the main thing that I wanted to show you guys how to do. I know a lot of you guys have asked me how I cut square holes without a Dremel. I use a Dremel, but I'd rather do the Jilson shears. They're just a lot safer and they last a lot longer. See the other side? Look at that cool front. Oh yeah, Paw, I like that. Yeah. So there we go. Guys, if you have any tips, suggestions, or anything like that, make sure you drop them in the bleep bloop section down below for me so that I can read them and enjoy them and share them. And if you got any tips, I'll be happy to hear them. You know, it's hard to keep coming up with good stuff to put on the channel. Content's hard to come up with. But anyway, make sure you hit the like and subscribe somewhere around in here. And we'll see you guys again back here next week. Thank you for watching.